Hello everyone, here my name is Nelson Mutiaba, a student from one of the best universities here in Africa, and that is Africa Renewal University. I'm a student pursuing Masters in Business Administration, and I'm specializing in organizational leadership and management. I am here to introduce to us something called strategy in practice. Strategy in practice has majorly two words, because it is a single statement with majorly two words, that is strategy and practice. Now, a strategy is a set of plans an organization follows to achieve its set goals. Yes. Then practice refers to the process of putting the strategy into implementation. In this case, for people who have been into a class called strategic planning and management, you realize that we learned a lot on how to come up with beautiful and efficient strategies. But then when these strategies are not put into practice, however beautiful or efficient they are, they don't produce results. So when you come up with a beautiful and a stronger strategy and you don't implement it, then the distance covered is equivalent to zero. Therefore, in the process of implementing this strategy or putting the strategy in practice, we are going to look at strategy itself. We are going to look at things like value. Then we are going to look at target market, whereby the strategy, like we previously learned in strategic planning and management, we are going to look at things like mission, vision, and objectives, or even goals, whereby the mission looks at the purpose and the purpose of doing the business. Then vision is the dream the business or the organization wants to achieve or to hit. Okay. Then the goals refers to the targets the organization will have to keep on achieving or hitting or scoring along the way in order to arrive at the vision. So in this case, that's what are the things we are going to look at. Then the value will refer to the worth, okay? The worth of the organization, like what makes the organization so good that the customers will have to support it at the expense of other organizations. Then the target market refers to what specific group the organization will serve, because remember, the organization cannot do all. It cannot do everything. In other words, even human beings can't do everything. It's only God who can do everything. So that means for the organization to come into existence, it has a target market, a specific group of people whose needs it has come to address. Alright, allow me to talk about something called value. Value is the worth or the glory or the price attached to a certain commodity, a person himself, or an organization. So an organization, in order to be successful in the environment, it has got to be with a great value. Alright, and in the terms of looking at value, we are going to look at three things. One is the value proposition, two, value discipline, three, the business model canvas. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, allow me to talk about value proposition. Value proposition focuses on the uniqueness of the organization, what makes the organization outstanding from the rest of the organizations in the eyes of the clients, or call them the customers. You realize that we can have 1,000 organizations doing the same thing, and that calls for competition in the market. But then the clients or the customers will choose the one with the highest value, and that highest value or the value is it defines or determines the uniqueness, because everyone wants to have something that is unique, and that is value proposition. So from value proposition, we shall go to value discipline. Value discipline refers to a set of actions, okay, through which, or the ways through which the business or the organization will conduct itself in order to be successful. The action is that the business will employ or the organization will employ, okay, that will make them successful, operate, and be profitable in the environment. Ladies and gentlemen, when I talk about actions, it might include things like ethics. Any business or the organization that will not conduct itself according to the ethical standards, that one will fail, surely, because every client, every stakeholder wants to deal with unethical or a disciplined organization. And when we talk about business ethics, or we are looking at acceptable moral principles through which the business or the organization should conduct itself to different stakeholders. The stakeholders can be the government, clients, partners, suppliers, even fellow organizations in the environment. So the organization has got to be with good value discipline, to portray a good value discipline while carrying out its operations in order to be successful. All right. So these ethics or the disciplines can be trustworthy, transparency, it can be empathy, consideration, it can be respect. All right. Yeah. Strategy into practice. There are things that will help us here along the way of implementing the strategy. One is communication. Another one, we are going to look at the SWOT analysis. When I talk about communication, I mean the sending and receiving of the messages between the sender and the receiver. Now, communication in the process of implementing the strategy or practicing the strategy, communication is a key, and it has to be an effective communication. When I talk about effective communication, I mean the exchange of the messages between the sender and the receiver. And the receiver has to understand clearly the message as intended by the sender. All right? Now you realize that the dreamers of the strategy, or the people who design the strategy, or the origin of the strategy, it originates from the management level. Remember, we have the top management in the organization, all right? Top management, middle management, and the junior level. The top management is the origin of the strategy, whereby the top management has to communicate the strategy to the middle management, and the middle management has to also communicate effectively the strategy to the people that are going to operate the junior level, which does the actual operations, hands-on, okay, activities that will lead to the success of the strategy. All right. So from the top to the middle, then to the lower. That means if the top management dreams the strategy, it is still in its original form. If there is no effective communication, that means there will be dilution. The communication or the strategy will be diluted along the way when it is being transported or transferred from the top to the middle. And then if still there is no effective communication, still you realize that the strategy is going to be furthermore diluted and will lose the sense. And once it loses its originality and loses its saltiness, that means the operation level or the junior level will do contrary to the expectations of the top management. So that means it calls for the 7 C's of communication, whereby you have courtesy, clarity, consideration, correctness. There are many C's, there are 7. I'm not going to exhaust all. So it is your assignment to think of the rest of the C's. All right. So what am I trying to say with communication? It means if the communication is not effective, the strategic implementation or the strategy will not be properly practiced, and hence we shall have negative results, or we shall have results which are not favorable. All right, and then we will end up failing to implement or to practice the strategy properly. Ladies and gentlemen, communication is a key during the implementation or the process of practicing the strategy. So, gentlemen, after looking at communication, we are riding to SWOT analysis. Now, SWOT analysis, when you hear the word SWOT, is S-W-O-T, whereby S stands for strength, W weakness, then O stands for opportunities, and T stands for threats. Alright, why are we focusing on the SWOT? Remember, organization has what we call, every organization has what we call organizational environment where it operates. And this environment is both external and internal. And this environment is a combination of the 4 factors, okay? In fact, there are 5 factors which produces an impact, either directly or indirectly, in the daily running of the organization. And these factors are characterized as 4, whereby 4 we have F, O, U, R. That is F, O, U, R. Whereby F stands for flexibility, O stands for opportunity orientation, U stands for uncertainty, then R stands for resource scarcity. So think about this, ladies and gentlemen. Look at F, flexibility. Flexibility means that the organizational environment provides a flexible manner. It behaves in a flexible manner. Okay, it is characterized by flexibility. It is dynamic in nature. It is not static. So it keeps on changing. So it calls for an organization to always be ready for change. All right. Changes can be change in the customer's needs, change in the seasons, change in the taste and preferences, which might call for changes in the products. All right. Then O, it is opportunity orientation. It means that organizational environment does not provide a single opportunity. It provides various opportunities, different opportunities. So it calls for an organization to always be ready and steady in order to take advantage of any opportunity that comes along its way of operation. Then we have U, which is uncertainty. Now uncertainty, it is to deal with things that the business will encounter along the way, or the organization will encounter along the way, and they are not prepared for. For example, it can be challenges. Talk about risks, fire outbreak, safety, maybe price fluctuations. You understand? Such things, the business or the organization has to be ready for them in the environment, and that sometimes calls for the insurance cover in the organization. All right. Then we have resource scarcity, which is R, and the last one. Resource scarcity refers to it addresses the degree to which the resources in the environment are scarce. Okay, it says that the organizational environment has resource scarcity. The resources are scarce, so it calls for proper utilization of these resources. Like, you don't need to waste the resources because they are not too much, they are just scarce. Whatever you have is what is sufficient for that day. Utilize it to the profitability of the organization. We'll deal with SWOT. Now, strength, which is S, it addresses things that the organization has and they can make it successful. Now, when you look at strength, the things that the organization is good at and the things that it possesses, like resources, it can be a strength, like qualified staff, it can be a strength. All right. Yes, the organization has got to be with the strength in order to be successful in the environment. Talk about opportunities. No. Before we go to opportunities, we have W, which is weakness. Weakness looks at the organization has to be aware of itself for improvement purposes. The things that it cannot do properly, the things that makes it that makes it find life challenging, it can be a weakness. All right. So having looked at the weakness of the organization can always plan on how to address the weaknesses in order to grow. All right. Then let's talk about opportunities. Opportunities, these are things that are in the environment that the business can easily take advantage of in order to be successful. All right. That is to do with opportunities. We can look at the market itself. It can be an opportunity. We can look at the population. It can be the population in terms of demography, looking at the gender, age, looking at the nature of human and the beliefs, social culture. Those can be the opportunities that the business or the organization can take advantage of in order to remain or to be successful and profitable. Okay. Then the last one is threats. Threats are the things that come against the success, the things that might fight the success of the organization. It can be seasons. All right. You can look at seasons. It can be a threat when the season changes. You realize that for people who were selling tea, hot tea, all right, during the previous season where we had too much sunshine, tea was no longer selling like it used to sell before, because the season had changed, the temperatures were high and people were looking for cold drinks, cold water in particular, to overcome the temperatures. All right. So for people who were selling tea, it means it was becoming a threat. For people that were selling hot products, it was becoming a threat. All right. Yes, and that's why we have to look at the SWOT in the process of implementing the strategy. So the SWOT helps you to know when to do what, why to do what, and how to do what. All right, by looking at the SWOT. All right, put into practice your strategies, and when you become a winner, we shall celebrate you. Big up. Thank you so much. I love you all. Meet in the next discussion.